Still trying to dial in how long I'm supposed to wait before I start talking. Really wish that they would fix that. When you press the button, you want to be live. That's how it should work. Anyway, thank you for being here. Today's Friday. It's a bit different of a Friday. If you watched yesterday's show, you'll know why. Brett Ehrlich is off doing all of his Brett Ehrlich-y things. And so we are very lucky to be joined by Yasmin Aliyah Khan, who's going to join us not only for an awesome hour of news, but also to throw someone in the trash. Her first ever garbage person. Who do you think it's going to be? And who's mine? I guarantee you will never guess mine. If you had 1,000 guesses, you wouldn't guess mine. But I'm very excited for it. And I'm really hoping that you can't see on the desk. Okay, good, because I have the picture there. Anyway, thank you for being here. Thank you to all of you who've already hit the like button. Every day we get a little bit closer to hitting 1,000 likes before the stream actually starts, but we're not there quite yet. Oh, important disclaimer. This pre-show is going to be different than any other pre-show because I'm waiting for an important phone call, and if it comes in, I got to cut the stream, like, instantly. Like, I'm going to say goodbye, and then that's going to be it. So that could happen at literally any minute. It could happen in 1 minute, or 15, or never. I guess we'll find out. So we've got a bunch of stories to talk about, including some really interesting little updates on a few different news stories. 3 bits of good news that we're going to roll through. Before we do that, though, I want to ask you all a question. And I understand that many of you, Marcus Soteris says, is it Joe Glasschin? No, I did talk about him yesterday, though. Wayne says, I swear to, that's a lot of asterisks. I have 4 tabs open looking for the pre-show, and this finally pops up. Yay, John. Wayne, glad to have you here. Okay, so many of you might not care about this, but I'm just curious. Tomorrow, we finally hit the Elon Musk hosting SNL. First of all, do you care? Will you be watching? Would you be watching if he wasn't hosting? What level of interest do you have in SNL? I'm just really curious. I don't know about the audience. I understand it's this thing that, yeah, I can see a lot of people, Commander Paprika, thank you. A lot of people aren't interested and probably wouldn't be anyway. Look, I don't think it's the best ever or anything like that, but I do think it's regularly funny, and I do need to laugh. So when it's on, I do watch it. I think there's some incredibly talented people on it, and it does bother me that they're going to waste their time with Elon Musk just because of the controversy, because of conversations like this. I hate that sort of thing. But Zane says, is the pre-show ending with the changes to TDR? No, I don't think so, Zane. A lot of people don't care about him. It doesn't look like most. I only watch Weekend Update. Okay, he probably won't be on that. Sometimes the guest is, but generally not. Sea Salt Chip says, I can only watch live on Fridays now because my part-time job became full-time. Yay for me, but I'm so sad I missed the live context of the DJ Lunchbox. Is that? That's funny, Sea Salt Chips. Never watched SNL. I like some of the cold openings and the Californians. That is like for 1 billion years ago. Let's see. Lauren wants to hang with Elon. That's probably what this is about. Gonzo says I'm so high right now. Well, that'll help for SNL, actually. DJ Shadow Umbreon says Mad TV was good. SNL's never lived up to it. Well, you know, there's good things about both, obviously. Okay. Was practically raised on SNL reruns. Dresdenova says, Dragonova here. Rare time watching the pre-show live. Shout out to Rob Shively because I'm apparently been following his Twitter for years, unrelated to Dragon Squad. Wow. Small world, but that's awesome. Thank you for that. MSM says, is your garbage person Lorne? Happy Friday. Missing Brett, but happy you're here, Dragon Dad. I told you, MSM, you're not going to be able to guess it. You're 1 guess down. You got 999 to go. Zane says, I do not have cable because TV rots brains. Yes, sometimes... the brain needs a bit of rotting, I think. Corey says, I'm less likely to watch. The cast is way too big. Yes, I do agree that the cast is probably a bit too big. There's a lot of great people that they're not using. And I'm not sure why, because they have a lot of their, like, you know, the people who are featured but aren't yet on the main cast. But it's not like they're in a lot of the sketches. Basically, where is Cecily Strong? That's what I want to know. Luminara says, SNL, call me when In Living Color is rebooted. Funny. I used to watch it back in the day. Main Money to Billing says, Main Justice is my favorite SNL skit. My Libra ass got really angry last night. You're really cheering me up today, John. I'm glad to hear that. I'm actually not familiar with that sketch. Sea Salt Chip says, will Elon be John's default garbage person next week because of SNL? We'll see. Robert Ryder, thank you. I mean, look, maybe he'll be funny, but I really doubt it. And it's just, like, I have no interest in, like, him taking something that I get some enjoyment out of so that he can, like, make a joke about Dogecoin. And then he'll probably make, like, $3 billion off of it. And a bunch of people will buy it, and then it'll crash, and they'll lose everything. Like, this sort of bullshit where he can manipulate things so that he makes money, and most of the people who, like, look up to him, just like with Donald Trump, end up losing every dollar they have. That bothers me. But anyway, thank you to everybody who sent in responses to my questions about that. And I really hope that Cecily Strong plays Marjorie Greene again. That was really funny. You gotta look that one up. Commander Paprika, thank you for your super chat. Appreciate that. 97 Multifandom says, hey John, been watching since the start of the pandemic and have finally decided to become a member. Can I be Doomslayer Dragon? You may. And thank you. Appreciate you becoming a member. A lot of you, it turns out, looks like started watching during the pandemic. It's been a ride. Thank you for still being with me. And Other Oddities says, Murder Show skit was truest version of me. I don't think I've seen that one. Franklin Sharpslicer with a pre-show super chat, Franklin, says, remind them to hit the like in every show. It really helps. They should know. Also want to see SpaceX Starship up close. Now I have to trim hair from my nose. Ew. Thank you, Franklin. And yes, everyone, do like Franklin would do and hit the like button. Enviro Pro Dragon says, some of the dragons are talking about a Zoom-style meet and greet amongst us all. Could Clubhouse be an appropriate platform for such a fun event? Yeah, so not a big fan of Clubhouse. Wait, am I thinking of Clubhouse or am I thinking of something else? I haven't used any of those, I will say. Okay, so let's jump into the quick news updates, okay? Because we got some BS we got to get to too, but little bits of good news. So let's start off. 4 ex-cops are being indicted on federal civil rights charges in the death of George Floyd. So obviously we've had the sort of state level process that Derek Chauvin ended up being convicted on. Now we have a federal grand jury. So let's see. We've got Chauvin being charged with violating Floyd's right to be free from unreasonable seizure and unreasonable force by a police officer. But 3 other cops also are facing the same unreasonable seizure charge related to the fact that they didn't intervene to stop Chauvin. All 4 officers are also being charged for their failure to provide Floyd with medical care. So, look, I have 2 levels of thoughts to this. One, specific to this particular case, great. Really glad to see it. Very happy to see it. More broadly, if it becomes a thing where cops who allow other cops that they're seeing to brutalize people, to kill people, that they could face charges, that is how you try to get the good apples, supposedly, to crack down on the bad apples, instead of them all just rotting together. So that's good. Also, the not rendering medical aid, I mean, how many cases have we seen where someone, in theory, could have been saved, might have been cases like this where they're having their lungs crushed, or people have been shot, and then the cops just let them bleed out and don't do anything. I guess it's a simpler case if the person's not alive to be involved in it. But anyway, both of those things, having the possibility at least that some sort of federal charges could be waiting for you if you engage in these sorts of activities, that's good. Like, it happening in one high-profile case is not enough, obviously. You need to have this become sort of a part of the background noise of being a cop. The knowledge that if you take part in, whether actively or just by virtue of the fact that you're not doing anything, you're just letting a cop do whatever they want, that you could face charges, that is probably going to be one of the only ways to actually change the culture. With a culture of consequences. And so glad to see that little update. Also, quick update on our main story throughout basically the last month, which is trying to get the U.S. to be a leader when it comes to fighting back against vaccine apartheid, which is causing needless continued death in a lot of different countries. So Biden is supporting the vaccine patent waivers, and now it looks like the EU might be starting to be affected by the fact that the U.S. has flipped on that. Because remember, as we pointed out on yesterday's show, there are a lot of wealthy countries that are still in opposition to it, including ones that you might not expect if you weren't watching that. The fact that Canada, Brazil, Australia, most of Europe, I believe the UK as of right now, and Germany, all being against it. That said, the leader of the EU, Ursula von der Leyen, said that the bloc's members, quote, are ready to discuss dropping their opposition, saying the European Union is also ready to discuss any proposal that addresses the crisis in an effective and pragmatic manner. That is why we are ready to discuss how the U.S. proposal for a waiver on intellectual property protection for COVID-19 vaccines could help achieve that objective. So that is all technically good. And maybe I'm being too suspicious or too cynical, but I read a little bit into that. Yeah, but let's see how long we could waste, how much time we can allow to slip by. We're just looking for things that are pragmatic and effective. And so we'll debate that for the next 6 months. That's my fear. And that's why yesterday, when we were giving a lot of credit to Joe Biden for making the right decision, we also said, okay, that's great, but you have to be an actual leader. You have to now push on this, because other world leaders are not going to simply decide, oh yeah, you know what, let's do the moral thing. That's not how it's going to work. And like the worst thing from the point of view, I'm sure, of countries like Brazil, South Africa, well, the people of Brazil, not the government of Brazil, and India, would be all of these countries just being like, no, fuck y'all. The second worst thing is, we should totally do it, and it would be great to help people out, and let's just talk about how to expedite that process for the next 6 months. Because people will die exactly the same in both of those cases. So we will continue to watch. We will note good news when it happens, but let's also not get too ahead of ourselves. These governments are in many ways as tied in with the pharmaceutical companies of their countries as our government is with ours. Okay, let's see. Edward Scale says, voted in UK election yesterday. Took 10 minutes out of my day. Voting, I think that's supposed to be, should not be a Herculean task. Hope U.S. voting reform is successful. I agree. Hope my effort to get some caffeine in myself is successful. And Viral Pro Dragon says, Clubhouse is benign, thinking of Parler. No. I'm not saying that if it's the one that I'm thinking of, which I think it is, it's not that it's an ideological thing. It's I don't need it. I just don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want to listen to tech bros. Life is already too much sometimes. I just want some caffeine and some Pop-Tarts. Moondragon says, there's a lot of me first thinking going on around the world and much reasonable concern about the supply chain. Sure. No, I get that. And look, I don't have any illusions that even if we get all of these countries, oh yeah, this is my garbage people shirt, all of these countries to do the right thing, that they won't first vaccinate their people. That is just, you're never going to get past that. That's baked into the pie at this point. That said, you could have already been spending months investing in the supply chain. If what you're going to do as one of these countries, and a lot of them are, is going to be like, well, vaccine patent waivers, I don't know. But we could totally ship some out. Okay, well, don't talk about that now. It's May. You could have been working for the last year on that. So that's the frustration. Yeah, I don't think that I'm being wholly unrealistic in this. How is it 9:39 already? I guess I started late. Okay, also, Biden is going to scrap this Trump-era plan. So what they were going to do was they were going to expand the number and groups of immigrants coming across the border that can have extra special requirements of information to be given about them. Now, wait until you hear about the sort of information they were going to be gathering. These small government conservatives wanted, let's see, eye scans, voice prints, DNA, and photographs for facial recognition. So basically, everything you might expect in snow crash for more and more immigrants coming across the border. Well, Biden is going to be scrapping that plan, so that's good. Weird, because they're supposed to be this tyrannical socialist government. They don't want to gather all this information. But fundamentally, it demonstrates their, the dichotomous view they have of the relationship between an individual and the government. So for them, get your hands off my guns. I get to have a rocket launcher if I want. How dare you infringe on my rights? I'm a sovereign citizen. But for immigrants, give me your DNA. Give me your eye scan. Give me your fingerprints. Give me your facial recognition profile. All of that, because they fundamentally do not see these people as deserving of the same rights that they do. That is another just fundamental aspect of white supremacy, the idea that I am special in some way, and the government needs to recognize that. But these people that are trying to come across the border, they're vermin, basically, and we will treat them as such. That is what you're seeing there. Tucker Carlson is now claiming more than 30 people a day are being killed by the vaccine. It's absolute bullshit, and I can't take it right now, so I'm not going to talk about it. But I did want to say this. So this is a headline story. I want to make sure that we don't miss that, because I do have to run off in a couple of minutes. But yeah, it's basically Minority Report. Okay, so Marjorie Greene was off, and she was asked about the Capitol attack. And she is still to this day denying that it was Trump supporters. So in the same way that I don't have time to go over the numbers, 26% of Republicans still say that Trump won. It's down slightly, a little bit. But anyway, and 70% believe that the election was in some way illegitimate. But like a full quarter are like, no, Biden literally lost. Like even with the way that they manipulated it. But anyway, so she accepts all those election lies. She also accepts the lies about the 6th. And she is not going to allow this idea that it's Trump supporters to exist out there. But in talking about why she doesn't like that label, she really reveals herself. So let's go through this. She says, Trump supporters are not domestic terrorists. That's a lie. And most of the people that they have arrested that did the damage and really were the ones doing it didn't really vote. From what I understand, most of them didn't even vote. So I wouldn't call them Trump supporters. I wouldn't call them any supporters. They didn't vote. What they were is they were anti-government. Okay, so what data is she using to establish that? Nothing. She just doesn't like it. I wouldn't call them Trump supporters because most of them didn't vote. Okay, they literally were holding Trump flags. They went to a Trump speech. Trump told them to go there. He said he'd go with them. They left once he put up a video saying that he loved them and they're very special. But they didn't vote, so they don't really count as Trump supporters. Isn't that amazing? Man, they can believe almost anything if they want to. So there was this bill that you'll probably remember she voted against to recognize the Capitol Police that fought off the insurrection. She voted against it. She said that was very hard. The language in that bill, number one, declared every single person at the Capitol there that day on January 6th an insurrectionist. And I do not believe that that was an insurrection. I'm not going to label people that way, okay? Okay, so let's be very clear. It's just that, come on, you can't say that like all those people, they're that bad. It's not an insurrection. I mean, sure, they were trying to overthrow an election and they did want to kill politicians, but like let's pump the brakes, everybody, and tone down the incendiary rhetoric. Then she went on to say she supports awarding cops medals for their heroic law enforcement officers and those who protect American cities from Black Lives Matter terrorists. Okay, so the group of people who broke into the Capitol and tried to kill people, well, come on, let's not like paint with a broad brush here. But everyone that believes that Black Lives Matter, everyone at all of the protests in all of the cities across all of the months, terrorist. You're all terrorists. So again, it's just like with the border. There are very different standards for two different groups of people. For these people, doesn't matter if they'd actually hung Mike Pence. I mean, they don't really vote, so like it's not really on us. But if you marched because you believe that cops should stop needlessly killing innocent people, unarmed people, you're a terrorist, automatically. Just for being there. If you wear the shirt, you're a terrorist. Now we can identify this. Of course, her fans they're not going to notice this inconsistency. If they were to, they'd love it. But it's pretty clear to us the different standards that she's playing with here. Laurel Dragon says, hey, DJ Dragon, Lunchbox Dragon. Quick update. The second dose of Moderna has gotten me. Haha. I've been sick since yesterday and feverish. Well, the good thing about it is, by the time anyone writes into me about their side effects from the vaccine, it's probably as bad as it's going to be. Like, probably every hour after this should be progressively better, and by tomorrow, I hope that you feel much better, Laurel Dragon. Okay, there's going to be a lot of clocks, I'm sure. Kelly Quigley says, I appreciate your point of view. Hashtag Baby Dragonless member. Thank you, Kelly. Okay, let's see. Senor Jefe says, retiring from military after 22 years next week. I want to take up the mantle of salty chief dragon. Also, MSM sucks at reporting real issues. You rock. thank you. Congratulations on your many years of service. And of course, you may be salty Chief Dragon. Thank you for watching. Okay, everybody. Hey, Allegra, how's it going? Okay, there's clock. No, okay, I see the clocks, and I see, even more annoyingly, I see the DJ lunchbox. Okay, so we're going to go do the full show. You can stay here if you want. You can go to twitch.tv/TYT if you prefer. But either way, we've got an awesome hour of news. We're going to make fun of Lindsey Graham and Jamie Dimon. And then we're going to have garbage people. I've chosen one, and Yasmin has chosen one as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll see you there.